Get ready for the old school hustle at Ridgela Theater in Fort Worth, Texas. Join IHWE on November 5th, 2017 for great wrestling and a great cause benefiting the Hurricane Harvey relief. Doors open at 5 p.m. Bell time is at 6 p.m. For more information, follow them on Twitter at IHWE Wrestling. That's at IHWE Wrestling. This podcast is scheduled for one fall. Introducing first. No, I'm not reading the rest of this. I quit. Hey, you guys, on the podcast, just click your buttons and come on, start the show.
This episode is brought to you by Gamefly. For listeners of the show, Gamefly is offering a 1 month free trial. That's one game out. And all you have to do to take advantage of this awesome offer is go to gameflyoffer.com/gimmick. Again, that is gameflyoffer.com/gimmick. And welcome everybody to the 15th installment of the Gimmick Table. It's a very special show. We have our first wrestling promoter joining us on the show today. Before we get to that, I am your host, Matt. And as always, I am joined by my lovely, lovely co-host. He is the little Kim to my notorious B.I.G. He is Bat. How goes it today, Bats?
It's going great, man. I mean, sometimes your words just hypnotize me, and I just love your flashy ways.
Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Your positivity that you bring to the show is delightful.
So positive.
So positive and radiant.
Never negative.
Never negative at all. All right, folks. If you're not seriously on board with the Making Towns Classic coming May 12th, 2018 to Nashville, Tennessee, you don't know what you're missing. You're going to get 16 of the best women in pro wrestling one night with one winner, leaving wearing one crown. What are you waiting for? So I'm going to sit right here and I'm going to hold my breath, which nobody wants, Bats, because I personally don't look good in blue. So I'm going to sit here, hold my breath. We're going to pause the show till everybody follows this awesome event on their Twitter gimmick at the MT Classic. Or they got that Facebook gimmick now, and all you got to do is search Making Towns Classic on Facebook. Go ahead. We'll wait.
Dude, you got to do the show. You can't just sit there and hold your breath. All right, well, I'm pretty sure Moose is on the line, and you look like a fucking Smurf. So why don't we just get the show started?
All right. Whatever you want. You win. Let's get to the show, but make sure you follow them. You really want to get on the Twitter, the Facebook. Make sure you give them a follow. Now, before we start the show, we infiltrated the one, the only Mike Robertson, who's been coming on our show and making a mockery of our system.
We set a little trap for him.
We set a trap.
We told him the show started a little earlier than it did because, he's friends with Moose. And we got him over here, and now he's tied up in a chair.
And he has a muzzle on his mouth.
Yeah, no, he can't talk.
Well, it's just a rag I found.
And he can't hack into he can't wiretap nothing. And he can't telepathically communicate it, so
he's not
screwed.
Jean Grey. Here, go ahead, try to say something.
Come on, Mike.
Steel cage match.
What was that?
What's that, Rob Cook?
I can't hear. Oh,
Stockade Steel Cage match?
Championship.
Xcite Wrestling Championship. What?
Oh.
Black Friday Mayhem.
Something about Keith Lee?
Black Fridays.
Wrestling on Twitch.tv.
So what? You got an itch? A twitch? What?
Twitch.tv, Xcite Wrestling. I caught that, and then something about Mike. What? Something about Mike and his.
Well, the thing is, we're gonna get to the bottom of all this nonsense that's been going on, because the man that we got on the line today, and we want everybody to please join us in welcoming to the Gimmick Table. He is the owner of Xcite Wrestling, the man with a plan. He is Jonny Moose. How goes it today?
My plans never come together. I have a plan. It doesn't work. It isn't the A-team. I wish it was, but I'm good. How are you guys?
We are doing well. We do have one question. We currently have your commentator, Mike Robertson, bound and gagged in our studio.
John!
And the reason why he's bound and gagged, if you didn't know, for the last few episodes.
I already know. Wait. You don't have to tell me. I know why he's bound and gagged. It has something to do with Simon Queen. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to go into details. Just know I already know. He's told me about it. It's kind of freaky. I don't want to get into it.
It actually has nothing to do with Simon Queen. All right.
Oh, that's...
The issue here at hand is that he's coming on the show. He's broke down our studio door once. He's invaded our phone lines like he works for the Baltimore PD and the television show The Wire.
Oh my God.
I love The Wire. All right, let's not go there, but
Such a stretch to get that in.
I stretched. We want to know, is this
okay.
Is this Xcite Wrestling's doing, or has Mike gone rogue?
No, it's definitely Xcite Wrestling all the way. You see, what Mike is doing, he's being what I would call a company man. He's making sure that the world knows where, Xcite's going to be, which is twitch.tv/Xcite Wrestling. Did he tell you that yet? Because he probably should have mentioned, that we are now on Twitch, twitch.tv/Xcite Wrestling. He has special methods to the way he does things. We don't always agree on the methods, but hey, you can't argue with success. So, I'm sure he's passed along the twitch.tv/Xcite Wrestling, and he might have mentioned it. And if you guys were really, the Gimmick Table, that's all you'd want to hear about anyways, right?
Well, we told him, though, all he has to do is ask. We'll set up a time, we'll record. But no, he's got to go through, some crazy means of getting Xcite Wrestling out there. So we had to bound and
Well, hey, people come up with different ideas, WWE thought it was a great idea to have one of their referees and then agents try to commit suicide multiple times on their website. It got hits. It's not normal per se, but it happens.
So really what it comes down to is, do you want me to untie him?
No, definitely not. Keep him tied up.
Keep him tied up? And when do I have to return him to you?
He's fine. Don't worry about it.
All right, so he can live
He'll be good.
He can live in my basement and eat some of my vegan snacks.
Oh, vegan? You could bound and gag them and tie them up and, probably beat them with a phone book. It's always good to use the phone book because it doesn't leave marks. But that's not real torture till you start making them eat that vegan stuff. Then it might be inhumane.
Well, I'll go with the vegan brownies, the good stuff. The stuff that he would...
Oh, yeah, sure. That's what they always say, the good stuff, the good vegan stuff. I don't know that it exists, but I'll go with it, sure.
I knew I had some vegan brownies the other day. I knew I should have brought some for the car ride.
You should have, and I would have had it, and then maybe you'd be convincing me differently. Right now, I feel like you are doing the equivalent of waterboarding just with vegan food.
I'll vouch for him because I'm pretty anti-vegan, but those chocolate chip cookies, pretty delicious.
I'll trust you. I have a friend named Dina. She we talked about Adele's angelic voice a little bit ago. It wasn't on the air, but now I'm letting everybody in on what we talk about. And yeah, she has that kind of voice. She's a vegan. She's like the diehard vegan though. She's gone full on rogue vegan where, if you're not vegan, you're like the enemy.
Well,
I think except for me, because I'm her biggest fan. But, I get it. We all have our quirks. Vegan being a quirk.
Yeah. But, we'll get Mike eating that vegan diet, get him ready for the next, Twitch broadcast.
Yeah, which, if you didn't know, is November 24th, live from Oneida, New York. Black Friday Mayhem. Should be a mighty good time. Of course, we're going to probably have a few things before that, but that's our next big live broadcast.
So, and we'll get back to the Twitch here in a minute. Let's get to you, though. Tell us when you were first introduced to professional wrestling.
Okay. I don't know exactly the date. I could probably look it up if you need me to. It was February, March-ish. 2000, or not 2000, jeepers, I'm old, 1989, WWE came to the arena. There was a special WrestleMania show that they were running on USA. They ran it from two different buildings. From the Broome County Arena, they had a special face-to-face interview segment where the good guy, the bad guy would come out. They would have a podium where they both would do promos against each other. That was from the arena, and then they had another arena that was showing matches, all as a preview for WrestleMania 5. So every big name that you could ever imagine of that time was there, and impressionable 8-9-year-old John loved it. and it went downhill from there.
And who were some of the first guys that you enjoyed on this downhill path?
Oh, well, at that show, I mean, they had a title for title. Randy Macho Man Savage versus the Ultimate Warrior. Ultimate Warrior being one of my favorite wrestlers, because who wouldn't love the Ultimate Warrior, especially when you're a kid? You know, as you get older, adult, you might see flaws in there maybe. But when you're a kid, you got this larger-than-life, colorful, just totally insane guy who would pick up Randy Savage, the heavyweight champion at the time, and press him 18 times in a match. Of course, I think they dusty finished it. Whatever, doesn't matter. That was cool. Hulk Hogan, sitting second row, broke the handcuffs right in front of me when he was wrestling the Big Boss Man. You know, that's unheard of. You can't break handcuffs. And Mr. Fuji hit one of the powers of pain in an accidental swing of the cane to allow Demolition beat him. I mean, all very fun stuff for young me. And then the next show I went to see, they had the Rougeau Brothers versus the Rockers, and that kind of changed what I thought was cool. And Shawn Michaels doing backflips and stuff like that. All of that kind of worked my poor little brain. And I really wish that I used that time to learn about politics then, because maybe I'd be a senator, not a pro wrestling promoter now.
Outside of that, who were some of your favorite wrestlers to watch as a child?
Well, that's a tough question, because what I liked as a kid might not have mattered to what I liked as a young adult to what I like now. Back then, I mean, it was the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, Hulk Hogan too, but I mean, that Hulk Hogan was the man everywhere for anybody. But you had like Ultimate Warrior, had Demolition, which were really just a knockoff the Road Warriors. It didn't matter, because like Van Halen, you know, some people like David Lee Roth, some people like Sammy Hagar, a few like Gary Shore, and I like all three, but Sammy Hagar was like my Van Halen. Demolition was kind of my painted up, you know, spiked tag team of the time, and they were my favorite. As I got older, I kind of actually grew out of wrestling. There was a small phase where I grew out of wrestling, and I wanted to find and marry Amy Fisher, the Long Island Lolita. I figured I didn't need pro wrestling if I had Amy Fisher, because not only is she tough, deadly, but she's very loyal. You see, that was the big thing for me. She was a very loyal girl. Like, she really took it to the next level, and I found that attractive as a young man. But then I didn't need her, and I ran into ECW one late night when I was trying to find soft porn on Cinemax, which would move on to Shannon Weary, who people have asked me fairly recently who my hall pass. I don't know. I guess that's a thing for you kids where you can just cheat on people. But that was always Shannon Weary. Shannon Weary was look her up. Look her up.
Who am I looking up?
She was amazing.
How do you spell Weary?
Weary, Whirry. I've tried to find her on Facebook. I thought I did at one point, but I don't think it's her. Yeah, I mean, she was special. Like, special. At least for me, I thought.
You got to think for, like, redheads, like strawberry blondes.
Yeah, but she had different colors in different movies. I mean, you know, one movie she was, you know, like this girl that, you know, was taking some, like, anti-anxiety medicine and made her cheat on her husband, like, a lot. The other one, she was twins, and they were boning, you know, lots of stuff.
She played both twins?
Well, of course. That was called Mirror Images. Oh, it was a good movie. It was strong. Yeah, no, look her up. This is a real
I've seen
thing.
that
I'm not
movie.
just making it up.
Now, out of all the movies, who's your favorite?
Well, I mean, Mick Foley was. I had a special place in my heart.
No. Your favorite Shannon Weary movie. I'm sorry.
Favorite Shannon Weary movie.
We'll get back to Mick.
I mean, she did Animal Instincts 1 and 2, Mirror Images. Hey,
but wait, Amy,
just to throw this off, Liar Liar, the Jim Carrey movie.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Read that movie where he all of a sudden starts sucking on a girl's boob. That girl was Shannon Weary. I'm just saying.
In the elevator.
No. She was on a bench. She was nursing a kid, and all of a sudden she looked down and she was nursing Jim Carrey. I think it was Liar Liar. I could be wrong, but I think that was the movie. And that girl and that boob was Shannon Weary. You can look that up on YouTube. All this stuff is real.
I'm gonna. I want to back up to Amy Fisher though. What was the movie that got you into Amy Fisher?
Well, there wasn't a movie. I mean, she kind of shot her boyfriend's wife in the head. Tried to kill her because because there can
that-
only be one lady for her, and Mary Jo Buttafuoco didn't take it too well because she literally took it in the head, but she lived. That was the amazing thing. She shot her in the head and she lived, and then it got out, and then she went to jail for a bit, and then she made a porno movie when she got older. The effect wasn't the same when I saw her as an older girl. And the thing was, she had a thing for old Italian dudes. And, when she ended up doing the porn movie, it was like a dude 30 years older than her, old Italian dude. It was weird, and she's like 45, so that would make him like 70.
Okay.
This has by far been the most educational episode of the Gimmick Table.
I told you guys, all you have to do is get me on the show, and I'll lay down some knowledge. That's it.
You misheard the question, but you had mentioned something about Mick Foley having a special place in your heart.
Well, I thought you said who was my favorite wrestler during all that time. And Mick Foley was special to me because, well, I'm not tall. He was always tall, but I was always pear-shaped and would have long hair, and nobody ever liked me, even though I was prom king, which is weird. So I always, I related to him awfully well. And then I met him at 2CW, and he thought I was a freak and didn't want to talk to me. So it's weird. It's come full circle.
And who do you enjoy watching now?
Anything but wrestling, pretty much, yeah. And my wife watches these weird shows, Switched at Birth and stuff like that. And to me, they seem insane, but I'd rather watch that than wrestling. I don't know. Does that answer the question like you're hoping?
No, not at all. But hey, it's your question to do with what you'd like with it.
Well, of course, if I was going to be truthful, what I like to watch now is twitch.tv/Xcite Wrestling. I mean, who wouldn't want to watch that? I mean, minus the hour of nothingness logo that we have at the first video that, I don't know how that happened, but apparently there's like an hour of, the logo.
I'm blaming the owner of Xcite. Oh, wait.
Mm-hmm. Well, I chalk that up to that was the first thing we've ever done of any kind.
No,
I mean, we do need a slight pass on some of this stuff.
It went over actually really smoothly. Like when I tuned into it, it only took like a few minutes after 8 o'clock before it actually started up, and then it was like really good quality.
Yeah, we started like 2 or 3 minutes late, and I don't remember what the reason was. Oh, yeah, the match wasn't there. That's right. I'm like, we need to start the show, and the first match decided not to show up. So we were waiting for them to come down the stairs and get into the ring. That was what the problem was. We would have started on time if everybody listened to me, but nobody gave me one of those walkie-talkies. I bought 12 walkie-talkies, and they didn't give me one.
I think I was in charge of handing out walkie-talkies.
Yeah, good job with that. Then my door girls, they got bombed. They were hammered by the time they came back to tell DJ Hyde, great job on killing Sean Carr. They were supposed to get him, so they can relay problems so I could fix them if there was any. But, neither one of us got the cool walkie-talkies that I thought was a great idea that everybody else thought was cool, but not me.
When did you realize you wanted to be more than just a fan and have an active role in professional wrestling?
When I was 9 years old and I watched my first pro wrestling, my second pro wrestling show when I saw the Rockers wrestle. That night, I went home and put down what was probably a Feifel from Randy. What was the Feifel movie?
Oh, Feifel Goes West was the second one.
Somewhere Out There was the song. It'll break your heart every time you hear it.
Yeah, and he's in a
but
bubble.
I put him down, climbed up onto the arm of the couch, and dropped my first elbow drop, which is probably why I have bursitis in my hip, because it was a concrete floor with a small pad and a carpet. There wasn't any give, but I thought it looked spectacular at 9 years old, dropping these elbows. Now I kind of regret it.
Well, that'll happen. It's Feifel and American Tail.
American Tail, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking The Land Before Time, and I'm like, that's not right. That's
Also
like
a
a
classic.
movie.
Yeah, so to
answer your question, that was the start. I always thought I could be a pro wrestler until I went through my Amy Fisher phase, and then everything kind of dropped off. But, the homicidal chicks that I thought were cool. And then all through high school, people would call me Mick, again, the Foley thing. And because, I was pear-shaped, long hair, all that stuff. And, in my senior year, I put on a wrestling show called Johnny Stock, which still drew better than Coney Island, by the way. Just want to throw that out there. We literally built a ring out of wood, a trampoline, a wrestling mat that I have no idea where we got, a mattress that somebody found on the side of the road that I thought was disgusting, but we used it anyways, ropes, all that stuff. And we took high school kids who liked pro wrestling, and we put together a pro wrestling show. That was my first promoter thing that we did. I made money. After that, it was always, I can be a pro wrestler. I can be a pro wrestler. Went to wrestling school. I really wish there was a small period right around 2000, 2001 where I got in really good shape. And I really wish I saw the Syracuse Wrestling School then because, I could have probably been the greatest pro wrestler ever. But I didn't find him in 2005. But I started getting fat again and made it 7-8 months, got married. I kind of gave up on that whole being a pro wrestler thing. And then 2CW started, 6 months, 7 months after I stopped going to that school. So, everything's meant to happen a certain way.
All right, so outside of Johnny Stock, when did you have your first behind-the-scenes experience in professional wrestling?
Before Johnny Stock, I was working for the journalism class in high school. I was a nerd. And really, I only would join the class so I could figure out how to get backstage at concerts and pro wrestling. So I went backstage to interview. I interviewed Triple H, Mark Merrow, and some dudes from ECW when ECW ran the arena. That was the first time being backstage anywhere. And when I interviewed Triple H, Billy Gunn and someone else was around, and they're laughing. And Triple H, even as Hunter Hearst Helmsley wasn't yet the game, shot them a look that put some kind of fear into them because they immediately shut up and left the room. It was kind of impressive to see. And then when I interviewed Mark Merrow, they were in full-on DX mode, and they were sitting there as him, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, they're sitting there making fun of Brian Christopher, and you just kind of see like how the backstage was being run. So that was the first experience. And then I went backstage at ECW where it was just a train wreck and dumpster fire of a backstage area, which was also cool to see. So, that was really the start of being backstage. But I wouldn't really get backstage until year 2 or 3 of 2CW. And that's when I started doing promos and eventually moved on to videos, eventually helping out with everything in one way or another, running the door, booking talent eventually.
So kind of elaborate on that. How did you get from cutting just promos to booking talent?
Booking talent thing was because by then I was doing Xcite. And what would happen is, when I did Xcite, the thing was I figured, this is okay. I have this great relationship with 2CW. We could use some of the talent. Yeah, it didn't go that way at all. Josh was very protective. And I get that now. Not then, but I get it now. I had to come up with different guys that have never been here before. First guy I ever booked was Steve Carino, who Josh just would not book, despite how much I talked. And another guy at 2CW, Chris Lovins, would tell him, book Steve Carino. He wouldn't do it. So the first guy I booked out of spite was Steve Carino. And I would have booked him every show beyond the first 4 that we did, but he moved to North Carolina, South Carolina, so that kind of killed that. But I had to bring in other talent that he wouldn't have. So I brought in Johnny Gargano before 2CW did. So it would be like, hey, can you check see if Gargano can come do this 2CW show on whatever date? And I was the intermediary for a lot of guys that I would bring in first that then, it would just be easier because I had a relationship with them. So really, it was an evolution of just things I would help out with.
And how was Xcite formed?
I'll try to make it as short as possible. I actually told this story today, no less, because I was trying to tell another young promoter about why Xcite formed and why it needed to happen and why some people are bad for business. But I'm going to try to keep it as short and not bitter as possible. There was a guy named, we're going to go all the way back. There was 2CW in Binghamton. It was also in Syracuse, Watertown, other markets, Utica. There was another company, ECPW. ECPW was Dino Caruso. That's the promoter. But there was a few local guys who would promote for him here. More or less, the local promoter guys had a falling out with Gino, so ECPW in this area disappeared. What they did was formed another company, 3DW, which is one of the most horrible names ever come up with. It stood for 3 different D words, like determination, I don't know. It was dumb.
They didn't just wear red and blue glasses.
That would be smart, right?
Right.
If you're going to do that, there's a lot of ways you can do that, but that's not what they were doing. So what ended up happening is those guys, the local promoter, who never had the money in it, who never had, the promotion license or anything like that, convinced this guy who was a guy who worked at a gym, who would know some of the local wrestlers because they would work out at his gym, And they convinced this guy, Fred Spencer, to buy a ring, buy guardrails, buy equipment, get the license, and run shows that they would book for him. Well, after a few shows, he realized the local promoter guy wasn't helping like he thought he would. So he pretty much shit-canned him, got rid of him. And he continued on without him, and some of the old ECPW guys stayed with him until the local promoter guy went ahead and made nice with ECPW, and then they started to decide to run against 3DW and 2CW, and half the dudes were going to leave 3DW to go back to ECPW. Now, me, as an outsider, I've always been shielded by the mighty umbrella of 2CW. I never dealt with drama or any of the stupidity because 2CW never had that. But I saw this, and I told Josh, I said, man, they're screwing this guy. He got involved, spent all this money, and now they're going to up and leave, and he's going to be, out all this money. So I talked to my friend Ryan Bombard, who was the ring announcer for our first Twitch show, who was friends with IB Green, who I've only met in passing at that point. And I called him and I said, what's the deal? Why are these guys going to up and leave this guy who, just wanted to put on shows? There's different opinions of Fred Spencer, but he was my partner at Xcite, so I have nothing but good to say about him. And, he's like, well, you should just talk to Fred. So I talked to Fred, and there was a lot of things Fred didn't understand, like the fact that, he would film shows, right? Well, when he had the falling out with Sean Carr and Cage, because they were both part of 3DW, they said, we're up and we're leaving, and don't you dare try to sell our footage. And I said, Fred, you own the footage. It's yours. You can do whatever the hell you want to do with your footage. They can't dictate anything to you. You're the guy who puts the money up. You're the guy that runs the promotion. They have nothing to say to you. But they knew that Fred is inexperienced at these things, so they could make these weird demands that anybody that's been in the business long enough knows that they couldn't make. So I told them, listen, you should still run. You paid for your license. You paid for all this stuff. Keep going. If you want, I'll give you a few options. I gave him options like I can run his merch, I could take over his production, or we could kind of go halfsies on what we're doing. And he decided to go on halfsies because I think he realized that I've kind of been around and kind of know some stuff, and that maybe I'd be able to help him a little bit better than the other guys did. We were going to keep the name 3DW. I was kind of against it. But I'm like, listen, it's already established. If you have an established brand, keep it. Don't change it unless you have to. But then we announced Steve Carino, and then we announced Finley was coming in, and Joe Gacy. And those local promoters who left him started taking credit for the buzz that we were getting. Oh, we created 3DW that's bringing in Finley. It's our show. It was never their show. So I put the kibosh to that and said, okay, we're changing our name immediately. And I came up with Xcite. I don't know if it's a good name, but that's the name I came up with. There was no other wrestling companies that had it. I thought, okay, that's good. I wanted to go with a singular word as opposed to any ABC letter number company. We just wanted to have, there's Evolve, there's Xcite, there's, that's what we were going for. That way nobody can take credit for whatever we're about to build. And, like any promotion, and Carney, like myself, I put Fred out of the business in 4 shows because I spent all his money, and he quit. And the problem with doing what we were going to do was it costs money. That's the easiest way to put it. It costs a lot of money. I put a lot of money into production, lighting, projectors, curtaining, anything that could make us look professional, I put money into. Then talent, Finley and Carino and Joe Gacy and some of the other guys. The way it worked is I would book the main talent, the name guys like the Hardys and the whoever's, and he would book the local talent. Some of the local talent was okay. Some of the local talent was god-awful. It was hard at the beginning because we were trying to find a good balance. And unfortunately, it cost a lot of money. And his wife, I think, was ready to kill him when we weren't making all the money back. But it was an investment in us. That's how I saw it, at least. And it came down to the September show where the budget was kind of high. We had Tommy Dreamer coming in as a surprise. We didn't even announce him. And we didn't advertise it at all because he told me he was done. And I thought I was done. He was the licensed promoter, not me. So I was ready to be done. Then we didn't advertise. We didn't sell any tickets. We have local guys, they sell tickets. None of them sold tickets. And that's where the fun, Chuck story of I sold 2 tickets, I need 2 comps. That's where that story comes from. I think we drew like 100, maybe. But the catch was we drew 100 walk-up because we didn't sell any tickets ahead of time. And I'm thinking, like, in my head, I'm like, well, geez, if we can have 100 people walk up, 100 people find us, no flyers, barely any advertisements on Facebook, no name announced. We announced it as a surprise. Maybe there's something still there. So I continued on. We did a show that year, that December, and we brought in Adam Cole and the Chris Brothers. And that was the first show we made a little money on. And from there, we continued on. It started off with me trying to rent a license, and it had not great effects when one of the licensed promoters I rented from decided to take a booking out of state and run my show at the same time, and the commission was not happy about it. And then the next guy I worked with was Brent Mendick, and he's awesome. He runs ESW, except Axel Lennox's dad was mad at the guys that were beating up his kid and decided to start a fight with, one of the wrestlers. And the commission was really not happy about that. So after that, they said, you got to go get your own license. So here I am, from that point, 4 years later. And we're finally having okay shows, I suppose.
You put on some really good shows. So why do you still do it?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know?
I think it's like a black hole. It keeps sucking you in, and you keep thinking, well, if I can just get a little bit further out, it'll be okay. And it just keeps sucking you in further and further and further, and you keep thinking, well, I can make back the money I've lost if I just keep going. It'll all recoup itself, but it never does. Like this year, we haven't lost money on the shows, but somehow I'm in the hole because I keep spending money on cages and production equipment and all this stuff to make it better. And everybody says it's better, and then you think like, well, I might not make money on this show, but everybody thought it was the greatest show ever. How do I not keep going? It's a weird, vicious cycle that keeps sucking you in unless you finally find the will to give up and get out, like Josh did at 2CW. See, he did that, and health issues aside, been so much better off for it. But it's hard. It's hard where you think, okay, I had 4 referees on Wednesday, and on Thursday I have 1. The show is on Friday. These are the problems you have. You have a show on Friday, the Friday before it. Your doctor, who you've had booked for 3 months, calls you and says, oh, they changed my schedule. I can't be there. Then you got to try to find a doctor. Oh, all the doctors I replaced them with, they're doing football games. They definitely can't do your show. So now you got to try to find a doctor. These kind of problems you're thinking, like, maybe the Crusade should win the cage match and we can close. These are the best shows we're putting on. We're not losing money. It's a cycle that, you just want to keep getting better, and you don't want to quit because it keeps getting better. If it was a cycle of going down and we're just losing money left and right and the show's quality just keeps getting worse, then we would. But everybody loves what we're doing, and you can't just stop that. You just can't. You got to see where it's going. This Twitch thing has everybody rejuvenated. Like, let's forget about any stupidity we've done. Let's throw all our energy into doing this Twitch thing. I feel like we are on the top of the wave of this Twitch thing right now. We're ahead of the curve, but there's another wave coming behind us, and there's a whole bunch of pro wrestling promotions on it. And we got to get ahead of them, and we're doing things to get ahead of them, and everybody's motivated. So it's one of those things like you got to keep going. You can't just stop because we're finally really starting to quit stuff we're doing. So, why would we want to stop that?
Oh, yeah. You just got to think of everything up until now was kind of like training you and building you up to like now where you can get it out to the entire universe to see what's going on with this Xcite Wrestling.
Well, I'm super, super protective, and it's an insecurity of mine, honestly. I know we have really great stuff. Stuff that nobody's ever done before, like A.R. Fox and Matt Cross and Johnny Gargano and Drew Gulak. Those matches were the first time they ever did them were Xcite. Matt Cross, Matt Seidel, and just there's so many different matches. Johnny Gargano, Matt Hardy, that have never happened anywhere. They happened here. That most of them nobody's ever seen. I didn't like the way this entrance looked, or I didn't think the crowd was full enough, or the sound doesn't come through right. It's an insecurity of my own where I'm like, I don't want to put something out if it doesn't look perfect. This Twitch thing takes me out of my comfort zone. hugely because there's no going back. You're going. Good match, bad match does not matter. Lights in place, lights not working, you're doing it. There's no safety net. So it's taking me out of my comfort zone of not being able to show people, only the perfect stuff. And that's my fault because we have a lot of great stuff that looks really great, but I won't show anybody because I'm afraid that, someone will complain about it or say it doesn't look good. We did our first Twitch and universally, fans across the board thought it looked incredibly great. I don't know if the wrestling was. I think it was really good. The fans thought it was really good, but I'm not delusional enough to say that my stuff's the best or I drew the biggest crowds. I don't do that kind of thing. I leave that to other delusional people. This Twitch thing, we didn't even know it would work. The equipment wasn't even tested until Wednesday, so there was no safety net. So this Twitch thing, it's fluid and it's different. And I think it's going to, I don't want to say it's going to make or break us, but it's definitely going to either make us get bigger and quicker and show the world what we've done up to this point, or it'll peter out. Michael Robertson told me a year and a half ago we need to do Twitch. A year and a half ago. And yeah, he's fine. And I told him, yeah, sure. When you get out of school, a year and a half. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I'm not gonna worry about it. But then you see, like Wrestle Circus did it, and I'm watching them do it, and all I'm thinking in my head is, Mike told me to do this a year, well, probably 7 months before they even thought of doing it. And that was a missed opportunity because I was being lazy. And he graduates, he comes home. Austin Hope is there. He comes over. They corner me, and they said, we're doing this. Figure out the equipment situation. Figure out what we need to buy, and we're going to make this happen. And that motivation pushed us over the edge, and we literally put it together in 2 weeks. And by all accounts, for the first time ever, doing anything like that, with 3 dudes running controls that we never did, 2 more dudes running our sound that, are doing their first pro wrestling show ever, I think it came off phenomenally well. I mean, I could be wrong, but I really think it was, so much better than my expectations was.
No, it definitely came off really well, and I mean, pretty professional too. But getting back to ease some of your worries about, how it looks and how it comes across, to the people watching it, to be honest, when stuff goes wrong like that, or, it doesn't look as professional as WWE, it kind of brings you into the ring and makes it more real for the audience outside anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different look. ECW thrived and is still talked about as the greatest wrestling programs ever because it didn't look like WWE. It was gritty. It was no frills, really talented dudes that they knew how to film in a way that even when they weren't very good, it still came across like they were. They were an old version of what is this Twitch thing is now. The big score in pro wrestling was an iPay-per-view. Let's get on iPay-per-view. That was the measuring stick of how good of a promotion you were was by an iPay-per-view, right? That is an old model. Having people, pay $10 for your show, well, if you have the following to do that is great, but people don't care. They don't want to spend money. They can get anything for free. You don't have to get the porn membership anymore when you can just go to Pornhub and see everything you ever wanted to see for free. You don't have to pay for stuff. I know it's a weird analogy going back to porn for pro wrestling, but it's true. Who wants to buy an pay-per-view when you can either steal it, because people just steal it, or you can just go to YouTube and see the same matches just cut up. So this thing that Twitch is doing, it's taking what the technology and the times, and it's making it accessible. I've talked to Twitch people, and they're like, well, you can do a pay model where people can subscribe to your thing, and they're like, we don't think you should do that. And I'm like, I won't do that, because people won't pay. Nobody knows who the Xcite is. They will. People in this area know who it is. But does anybody in California know who the Xcite is? No, they don't. But they will. They will. And, if we do it for a year, do it for a year and a half, build up this following. Then we can say, hey, for $3 you can see all this extra content. $3 a month. You get 100 people to do that? Well, you just made $300 for the month. Then all you had to do was have people say they like your product. It's just the way technology goes. I mean, you look at Wrestle Circus, when they have their free shows, 2,000 hits, 3,000 hits on their videos. Okay, well, now you want to watch the replay of their show, you got to pay. You got to be a subscriber. And then, the last show they did has 400 hits. Now, if 300 of them are paying subscribers, good for them. That's great. That's smart. You don't need 2,000 people watching when you could have 300 pay you $10 a shot. perfect. But for a company like mine, that won't work. And technology allows me not to have to do that. You used to have to pay iPay-per-view companies thousands of dollars to run your show on iPay-per-view, and 99% of them failed at some point in their show. It's just the way it would go. And trying to recoup that money, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. Most companies didn't. Now at Twitch, we don't have to do that. Yeah, there's startup fees, and a lot of people won't have the money to do the startup fees that you need to actually run it properly. And a lot of people don't have a crew like I have a crew. I don't know how I inherited them. They came to me, which is weird. I wouldn't have this crew. If it was just me, we wouldn't be on Twitch. But we have the crew, and it doesn't cost us money to do this. We're running on the building's internet, not on our internet. We're not running on the server that we had to prepare. We're running on Twitch, which is $1 billion company. It's the way the market goes, and we're on that wave. But there's a giant wave coming behind me. We just got to figure out how to be ahead of it. And I kind of got a couple ideas.
Well, I'll assume that those are trade secrets, but you're right. I mean, if you just look at Twitch just from the gaming aspect, I mean, you got some guys who get $10,000 donations.
Tips.
Yeah, one guy gets a $10,000 donation from one person.
I don't think that's too common.
It's not common, but it's possible. But
it's a lot of $5, $10. Like every time they're streaming, people are on there watching. They're like, "Hey man, I like watching your stuff. I got some money to burn. Here's $5." You get enough people doing that for you. You make a living doing that. Now you do that with a broader audience, with like a whole wrestling promotion instead of just one single person. Now you've got like a bigger reach, and the more money you get in, the better product you can put out. That's the bottom line.
Oh, that's with any business. Any business, not just wrestling business, but the more money you got coming in, the more you can, either you're going to be greedy and take it all for yourself, or you're going to do what I've done and put the money back into the company, or buy dogs. I bought a few dogs. But
dogs are fun.
Yeah. But the fact is, there's ways to make money on Twitch. I've been schooled by a few different people on how to make money on Twitch, and that's something that we're working on. If I ever fill out the proper form that I need to fill out to finalize that part.
You should see Mike shaking his head right now.
Yeah, I bet he's shaking his head right now.
Fill out the forms.
He's probably going to have to sit me down, kind of like when he told me to do Twitch in the first place. He's going to have to sit me down and say, type. Loser, just start typing, and I'll get it done then. But the fact is, I'm going in expecting nobody to know who we are, and they're all like, you can make money this way, make money that way, and I'm like thinking, if we make any money, then this is already a success. You know what I mean? And we're going to be afforded opportunities that a lot of other people aren't afforded to have chances to make money based on the fact that we have this association, and it's weird to me that I'm if you ask me how to film something, I'll tell you how to film it. If you ask me if a promo is any good, I can tell you if it's good. Those are my opinions. But if you're like, oh, this is how you can make money on Twitch, you've already lost me. And I'm like, can we just put on a show and you guys handle this, and if we make money, great. That's where we're at. There's a lot of opportunities, and we've been talking about this Twitch, and we're talking about this Twitch, and we haven't even talked about the United Wrestling Network, which is Dave Marquez's product out of California that we're a part of. We've been so caught up on this. We're doing Twitch and we're doing live shows. People forget that a year ago, almost to the day, we had our first TV tapings to put out a TV show, and not on Twitch, but on networks around the state of New York. That plan hasn't changed. It's gone a lot slower than I liked it, but we're part of that. Dave Marquez just set up a deal. They just started airing this last Saturday on 110 CW networks across the country, doing his championship wrestling from California, or from Hollywood. And it's all part of the United Wrestling Network umbrella that includes a ton of other companies like Rockstar Pro and CZW, Main Event down south. These are big companies. We're part of it. It's just we've been in a holding pattern trying to figure out what we're going to do with a TV show. Part again, I don't like the footage. I won't air it, so we don't make a TV show. We've taped a lot of footage for this TV show that hasn't seen air, hasn't seen anything. Stuff with Cody Rhodes, AR Fox, all these guys. So that is another thing that we have in the pipeline that I'll be honest with you. I watched the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood show, and it motivated me to get me motivated to do anything like walking stairs. Man, that is like pulling teeth. You got to think, I watched this, and I'm like, this is airing across the country. And his lighting is great. His building is awesome. And I'm like, I don't have that, but I have a lot of great talent. And I know we have a lot of video production skills that can make our show look really great. Maybe not as, sharp as his, but ECW is never as sharp as WWE. And I watch this and I'm like, we can make ours look really good. It could stand next to that, maybe as the little brother, but that kind of thing motivates me. Twitch motivates me. The next 12 months are going to really pace the way Xcite's going to move in the future. It's just kind of getting started. And we're nearing our 6th year, so it's kind of weird to be saying, like, we're just kind of getting started at what we're doing, but that's really what it is.
It's a whole new experience, just going from the live shows to then being on television. But it seems to be going successfully for you. Now, obviously, with success comes the negative times. Tell us kind of some of the toughest lessons that you've learned.
There's a few. One, sometimes your gut instinct is not always the right one, no matter how much you think it is. I joke. I can joke about it. I probably couldn't joke about it when it happened. We ran 2 shows at Coney Island in front of, I think, in total 40 fans between the 2 shows, 2 weeks of shows. That was almost a total loss of money for 2 weeks straight, which is a huge hit that we took. I thought it was the greatest idea in the world. I had other promoters, not just one in Syracuse, who told me that this isn't going to work. And I said, yes, it will. Yes. I had dollar signs in my eyes. I thought it could be the best thing ever. I was counting money left and right. Like, this is what we're going to make. And it didn't work. So, sometimes the greatest idea you have is sometimes your worst idea. And you don't always see it. And sometimes you have to listen to other people because they might know, and you got to realize you don't know everything. So that one was a tough one. I've learned that you deal with a lot of delusional people in pro wrestling who either think they're worth more money than in reality they are, who think they are the greatest wrestler, draw the most crowd, have more impact on a business that in the grand scheme they have zero impact on anything. And you do this on a daily basis when you're a promoter. And then when you either shine a light on that or ignore these types of people, then usually those types of people attack you from their own insecurities and their own need to feel important. In the grand scheme, they don't mean anything to your life or to your business life, but it's hard to just let that stuff go. And sometimes you do. Sometimes you just gotta not worry about insignificant things in your life, like those types of people. And this kind of goes with that, but this is something else that I've been realizing. Pro wrestling is a very lonely business, and being a promoter is a very lonely business. And you make a lot of acquaintances, you don't make a lot of friends. When I close, I know that 85% of my daily life is going to become a ghost town. Dudes that you thought were your friends won't talk to you anymore. And people that you thought were close are going to be telling somebody else that you're some piece of shit that didn't pay enough money. And I've seen it. I haven't experienced it as much because, I'm still running. I'm still booking to somebody. But I've seen it with other dudes who are nicer than I am, who are more popular, and yet people forget they exist. It can be very lonely sometimes, and it gets you down when you start to really think about, people just not caring anymore. And this is turning dark. I don't mean it to be. That's a reality. Well, you don't even have to be successful.
Right.
You can run the shittiest pro wrestling company ever, but people will put you on a pedestal like you've done something special because you're a booking. But as soon as that booking ends, they don't give a shit about you. Now, it just so happens when you're a better company or you take care of people, they tend to gravitate to you more. And not everybody's like that. And not everybody's like that at all. But unfortunately, there's going to be a good amount of people. Unless I die before we close, then everybody will be my best friend, for that week. And then I'll be on to the next promotion that will take my place. We're getting into Debbie Downer stuff. I don't mean to.
Side of Xcite Wrestling.
But, yeah, it's sad because I've had this conversation with other promoters, and they are in the same boat. You know what I mean? It's just certain things you don't really think about when you're like, oh, I just want to have a pro wrestling show. Drop a ring. It'll be good. I think those are some terrible lessons that I've learned along the way.
Yeah, some of that's just the cost of doing business. There's nothing you can do about it.
No, you can't. You got to have failure to gain any kind of success. Very few people have success out of the gates and continued success till they quit. It just doesn't happen, especially in the pro wrestling business. It does not happen. Vince McMahon was, taking out the water coolers in the 90s because he didn't have any money. Failure is a part of the business. Most people don't see success. I don't know if we've ever seen success, technically, not from a monetary standpoint. We've had winners, we've had losers, but as a whole, we're in the hole. But, I don't have hobbies. I don't play golf. Whatever extra money I put into wrestling or Adele tickets. One of the two. I think we've had a very nice little run. But when we close, I could close tomorrow, and there's going to be some people very sad, but in 6 months, it will be on to the next thing. And anybody that doesn't believe that is a delusional motherfucker. So, that's how I feel.
There's anything in life. Life goes on.
That's the thing. It does. It's not just pro wrestling. You know what I mean? You can have the greatest TV show in the world. Seinfeld goes out on top. There's already a new season of something else coming in. That's just how it goes.
Well, maybe this will be a happier question with a little less, darkness. At least it has the word.
Bring it up.
It has the word happy in it. How do you maintain a happy locker room?
You know what? I'll be honest with you. One of my goals at Xcite was to not have a shitty locker room with a lot of drama and a lot of whatever. The locker room drama that we've had was really with mostly local dudes, honestly. Very little of the outside talent did we ever really have any kind of drama. Now, granted, most people pretty much hate DJ Hyde. It's universal. It's not just, a few guys. Pretty much everybody dislikes him, but I think that's in part because of DJ, because he'll even tell you he's sometimes hard to deal with, and in part because he's a promoter. And when you're a promoter, you have to make bad decisions, and decisions people might not like. Not always the smartest decisions, but you have to make decisions. And with DJ, he makes decisions people don't like. So he has been my heater for the most part for the past few years in the locker room. But he's also a guy that at times I can rely on. If I have an issue, he will fix it. I don't tend to pull that card too many times. But there's a reason why I keep him around, because I wouldn't have met Dave Marquez if it was for DJ. He's opened doors. Some people can't appreciate that. Some people understand it. But the locker room, for the most part, people come in the locker room, they have a good time. I try to make it as stress-free. I'm barely in the locker room because I usually have to walk upstairs, and I don't want to walk up any stairs. Forget that. I'm not about that.
Put an escalator in.
Pretty much, for the most part, most dudes, they've all worked together, and we keep it easy. We don't overcomplicate shit. We make it easy. We don't pit people against each other. The local dudes, there was a couple local dudes that would do stuff like that. They're probably not around too much anymore. For the most part, I've kept true to what I wanted with my locker room. I wanted an easy-peasy locker room. People come in, they know what they got to do, they do it. And usually, if there's complaints, it doesn't even make it to me because it just doesn't. Maybe I'm completely delusional myself, but I'd like to think that the locker room's a pretty decent, happy place.
See, I was right. We're not headed down that dark road anymore. We've kind of taken a U-turn here and headed on to.
We're back on the happy train.
We got some sunshine in our life.
Oh, good. I love sunshine. Well, I really don't. I mean, sun usually is hot guys and fat guys. It just doesn't go. You start sweating, then you can't stop sweating, and all you want to do is be cooler, and you need air conditioning at all times. The sun causes cancer.
Creates plants which animals and us eat.
Yeah.
No, what you eat, you vegan.
Big environmentalist over here. Big environmentalist. Oh, the sun, it beams down, it grows plants that I'm going to consume and take it and turn into shit. Yeah, I see how it is.
Well, I just like to live. That's all. The sun's kind of required for that.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, as soon as I die, this planet can take a dump. I'm all right. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to be dead. And my kid's going to be alive, but maybe he'll be super smart and figure out how to go to Mars. I don't know. I don't really need to know because I'm dead.
We are headed back down that dark path.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to. I thought I was being positive.
No, you just said it in a very, happy, upbeat voice, but it was still a very dark, undertoned message.
It's a dark tone. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Now, listen, just so you know, I tell everybody, I put it on Facebook, I tell everybody, for my funeral, when I die, if we're still doing this, you guys are around, I need you to make this happen. I want Alice Cooper there with the Southern Baptist Choir. I'm talking about, the choir and like the white suits, and you have a band, you have like a random dude playing drums on like four drums, a dude playing like a electric bass, and I don't want I don't want him singing like Amazing Grace. I want all the cool Alice Cooper songs that he would never play live when I'd go see him. I want that. You guys got to make that happen.
I can promise you a shitty Alice Cooper cover band and a small church choir.
Still not good enough. No. I appreciate it. You're the first person to actually come up with a solution if Alice Cooper couldn't be there. Nobody else is. They're just like, oh, yeah, sure. But in my head, I know that they're not really going to try. It sounds like you're going to try already. I appreciate that, but you got to get the real thing.
No, I'll karaoke if I have to for the Alice Cooper, and I'll find a church choir, and I'll make something happen that, if you're far enough away, because, you're dead, you won't even know what's going on anyway.
My coworker says that I need to fake my own death to see if we can actually pull it off. And then, I'll be able to actually watch it happen. Not that I wouldn't be able to watch it happen because I'll be watching from above in the shiny sky of heaven. And I'll be able to see it, and I'll be like, see that, God? That's what I did. It's here.
All right, I'm tweeting.
I run a wrestling company, but got Alice Cooper playing the funeral.
I'm tweeting
in a church.
I'm tweeting Alice Cooper right now, telling him my friend has passed and would like you to come play.
Alice Cooper's 80.
Yeah, wait. Yeah, what happens if Alice Cooper dies before you?
That's a good possibility.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, you haven't paid attention to my health records. I'm just thinking about in less than 24 hours how I'm going to be pooping my brains out for my colonoscopy on Friday. Obviously, you haven't got the Iggy on the health, but even at 80, which he's only 68 or something, he'll probably be living forever, and I'll probably be gone in 2 years. So the odds are better stacked than you think they are.
Regardless, I'm sure there's a way to summon him from hell or wherever he's going.
Oh no, he's a big religious dude. He's the man.
I know, it's pretty ironic.
If he dies before I die, I'll still get to see the Alice Cooper show, but it'll be in heaven. We'll be there together. It'll be awesome. It'll be us, and no, Christians don't get the 40 virgins, right? That's not a thing.
I don't know about that.
I don't think that one's in the Bible. I'll have to check.
But if there's one God, how does one God got that cool thing of the 40 virgins? What is this? I'm confused by the whole situation.
I like the South Park version of God where he's just that weird-looking creature.
Yeah.
I like the Family Guy version where he's like, come on, baby, it's my birthday.
All blasphemy. All of it. I would never do anything like that. Although I would do a caricature of Muhammad that, someone's going to try to kill me. And I want to see if I can survive it. I feel like this is you have those challenges in life to see if you could successfully survive and thrive in a deadly situation. And I feel like this would be my commando moment. If I, drew a picture of Muhammad, someone tried to kill me, and I killed them first. I feel like this could be a life challenge that I feel like I should try. I might want to try to do some cardio before it because I don't know. They might be quick. They might be able to run, and they have guns. But I'm just saying, I think it might be a life challenge.
So to sum this up for everyone listening, you want to fight ISIS single-handedly.
Well, yes. I mean, yeah, I kind of do. I kind of feel like somebody should, and I feel like it could be a fat dude who's 5'5", doesn't own a gun. Although I probably should get some before they take them away. And definitely get those bump stocks because apparently those do some nifty things. And they're going to take those away from me. So now I instantly want to go buy them. See, when they want me to ban something, the thing that you got to do is tell me everybody can have them because then I don't want it. But as soon as you tell me I can't have something, I have to have it, which is causing conflict in my life because I've been told you can't have Coke and be fat. And I want to prove people wrong. But I don't know if it's a good life choice, but I think fighting ISIS could be a good life choice. But they won't let me in the Army because they think I don't have the proper frame for it. Well, and I don't like to walk, and I'm already carrying a lot of weight. I don't want to carry something on my back because that'll make me even heavier.
Right,
There's probably a lot of reasons why they won't let me into the Army. But I feel like if you give me a gun, I can find somebody who is a terrorist and shoot them.
Well, who's going to find a terrorist?
Who determines if they're a terrorist?
Okay, see, I thought when I said it that someone's going to say, am I stereotyping people? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I want to draw a comic of some religious deity, that will make somebody mad. And if they're mad enough to want to kill me, they're probably a terrorist.
All right, but to be fair, in their eyes, you're the terrorist for drawing the comic that you knew was going to piss them off.
Are we going to get caught up in semantics here? Is that what we're doing?
Semantics.
I mean, I'm just saying, you know, I'm
you wanted Dexter some terrorists.
Trump reference here, and I can't make a good Trump reference here. So I'd say, you know, well, First Amendment says I should be able to draw this caricature, but now he wants to shut down NBC because they talk mean to him. It's hard for me to make these connections like I want to. But either way, I feel like if you get so upset because of a cartoon that you got to murder somebody, you're probably not good a person. I just think you're not a good person. Found in my life, I pretty much like everybody. I am a horrible, horrible, horrible Republican who you're pretty much bred to not like certain types of people.
Like anyone who's not white.
I like everybody. I don't need to go into... All you got to do is turn on Facebook, and you'll see that most of us are Nazis. Pretty much, you know, I feel like I don't care who you are. I don't care the color of your skin. I don't care if you like a dude and you're another dude, or you like chicks who like chicks. Usually I like that. I don't care about any of that. Religion doesn't bother me. I'd like to think I'm a religious person who doesn't know what kind of religion he is. You know, people get caught up in stupid stuff. Color of your skin doesn't bother me. And if I'm a promoter, it doesn't matter what color your skin is as long as you can make us money. I don't know. That's just me.
All right, so speaking of things that you like, tell us your top favorite matches in Xcite.
Well, I did certainly like Jeff Cobb and the Ring Crew Warriors from our last show. That made me happy. I was kind of happy about that. And most people, like Jeff Thomas would tell you, I liked it because the Ring Crew Warriors got the shit kicked out of them. That's not why I liked it. Well, yes, it is. I did like it because of that. But I liked it because there was two young kids who don't get much of an opportunity to wrestle anywhere worthwhile. And they got to get in the ring with a former Olympian, he wrestles all over the world, and hold their own with him. That warmed the shit out of my heart. I thought it was great. They did much better than I anticipated, and it really was good. We had a lot of good stuff. It's hard to say, like, this one match was better than this match, because we've had a lot of great stuff. It's hard for me to pick one moment over another. I mean, you could look at, like, the Sabu show, Anger Management, a couple years back. You know, I put in a match on the opening match of the show that I just wanted to start the crowd hot. I didn't want to start with, you know, the typical indie match where it's just, let's throw a couple dudes out there and it'll be okay. No, I announced that we were going to have Johnny Gargano and Pepper Park. He has a new name, I believe. And they were going to open the show, but what nobody knew was that AR Fox was going to make his Xcite debut, and he was going to be in that match. So I started with that match right there, and it killed the show. Literally killed the show with how good it was. It was hard because we had a show with Matt Cross and Chris Hero on it, and Sabu in a tables match, and it still blew everything away on the show. That was seen as a failure in my eyes because I promoted it wrong. I did the wrong thing as a booker by putting that match on first because it blew people away. But that was just a small little glimmer of how good Xcite could be. You look at the Brandon Fields show, the first one we did. The second one was absolute horrible garbage. For the right cause, horrible show. I wanted to quit after that show. But the first one we did, man, that was good. The quality of the wrestling, it didn't matter. It was just okay. But it was a lot of people coming to honor our buddy that passed away, and we raised $3,000 for his family, or almost $3,000 for his family. But the community came together, and they raised a lot of money for him. And I've said it, I meant it. Probably the only real nice thing I'll do in pro wrestling. Not good, not great wrestling or anything like this. This is just the nicest thing that I'm probably going to do. And I hate doing charity shows because I feel like the money never goes where it's supposed to, and we were able to take all the money that we made and give it to them, and that will always have a special place in my heart, no matter how many people try to glom the credit for it or anything like that. It was a joint effort between a lot of people who made something special. That wasn't really a match per se, but it was a good feeling. I mean, there's been a lot of good stuff. It's hard for me to pinpoint the best.
Now, at the end of the day, what do you want your legacy to be in professional wrestling?
These are all questions I should have stock answers for, huh? I don't think this gets back. I'm going to take it down a different path. I know you want me to give you the happy-go-lucky answer. I'm not going to give that to you.
Give us whatever you want.
This is going to be the reality answer.
The
reality of the situation is I'm not going to have a legacy.
No?
I mean, unless something drastically changes in our business model and we just blow up and we're all over the place, which could happen. We're trying to give every opportunity for that to happen. But the reality of the situation, like most pro wrestling promotions, they close and then that's it. There's some fans that remember. There's some fans that really love the shows. And there's some people that are going to be sad when you go away. That will happen. But unless something changes drastically, that's it. People will be like that. John, he was either an asshole or he was great. One of the two. I'm sure some fans will think I was great. Some wrestlers might think I was an asshole. But I hope that we today gave people something to escape the realities of this horribly shitty world sometimes. And for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, they are able to enjoy life and enjoy what they were doing. And if I was able to do that for some people, then I'm happy as can be. Saying anything beyond that is where you get into those delusional fucking people who think their self-worth is so much higher than it is. We're insignificant little bits on this planet, and you got to make the best of what we have. And if I can make one person happy, then I feel like I've, contributed something good to the world. I almost sound like a hippie. I almost sound like a damn dirty Dave Matthews Band loving hippie right now.
Hey, Dave Matthews is a good band.
Oh, we got another Dave Matthews fan in the house.
Oh, I bet you do.
We can't escape him.
I bet you do. And I love Dave Matthews. I've seen Dave Matthews many, many times. But, that's the thing. People that are talking about their awesome legacy or whatever, they probably don't have shit. They probably have a shitty life, and they're holding on to the little piece of whatever they think they can get. I just want to have a good show, make something entertaining, make somebody better. If I can make Joe Gacy and Sean Carr into a national talent that they go on to a bigger company and make a lot of money, I will be so happy, and that could be my legacy, that I helped a little bit of making that happen. Call that my legacy. If I can help one person, get huge and blow up all over the world, and I had a small part in that, great. That's awesome. Or if all it is making fans happy for 2.5 hours every couple months, then okay, cool. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as people want to quantify it, you can't really put a price on the value of entertaining people.
No, that's why pro wrestlers do it. You can do it to make money. You can do it because you're good at it, but most dudes do it because, there's a certain segment that do it just for themselves because they're selfish motherfuckers. But there's a good portion of them that want to just make people happy and put smiles on their face, and they get that adrenaline rush when they do it, and they can pop that crowd. And, a good portion of people that want to do that. Unfortunately, a couple bad apples really ruin the bush. So,
Apples grow on trees.
Do they? Trees that I have to cut down. Trees that I have to cut down for the paper I write the show on. Something is killing the world.
Don't you have the interns cut down the trees?
No. Interns barely show up and then expect a good grade. Damn it, interns.
All right, so tell us more. Xcite Wrestling, Black Friday Mayhem, Oneida, New York, Khaled Center, November 24th.
It's a happening. You can get tickets right now at excitewrestling.com/shop. That's www.excitewrestling.com/shop. You can get tickets right now. There's VIP tickets, $55. You get a picture and an autograph with Matt Sydal. Some people might know him as Evan Bourne from the WWE. You also get a picture and an autograph with Kevin Kelly. He is the American voice of New Japan Pro Wrestling. He also is the former voice of Ring of Honor and former voice of WWE. He's been all over the world, and he's coming to Xcite Wrestling to do some commentary with myself and Michael Robertson on our Twitch show. I mean, he is going to class the joint up. It's a fact. And he's going to be there pretty much schooling two idiots that don't know what they're doing on how to do it just like you would see in the WWE. It's probably the best card that we put down on paper, in motion. Who knows? We'll see. It could be even better than I imagined, but it's going to be awesome. 8 big matches. There's 4 matches that could be a main event on any one of our Xcite shows. You got a steel cage match between Rob Cook and Stockade. It's probably going to be brutal. You have a match between Evan Bourne, Matt Seidel versus Slick Wagner Brown in the first meeting of those two ever, which will probably be one of the best matches in Xcite Wrestling history. You have David Starr, who you can't book anymore because he's all over the world, literally all over the world all the time. We have him taking on Don Carr for the Xcite Wrestling heavyweight title. And then the hometown kid, Brute Van Slyke, taking on Keith Lee. Keith Lee is a 6'2", 350-pound monster. Just a monster who can do topes over the top rope and catch 250-pound dudes doing topes over the top rope in midair like he's catching a football and throw them across the ring. It is amazing what he can do, and they're probably going to break my ring. It's really sad, but then maybe I can get a new ring, or maybe it'll close. Who knows?
I don't know.
And if you haven't been into the building, you got to check out this building. I know you were there.
It was beautiful.
It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. When I talked to Dave Marquez, when we talked about doing TV shows and doing TV tapings, he found this building in Albany. It is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. But I kept telling him, we don't have much of a market in Albany. We don't. We're not up there. People that might know of us because our name is growing far and wide, it would be hard to run there. This building is gorgeous too. If Dave Marquez saw this building, he'd tell us to run tapings twice a month, every month, in this building. Luckily, he hasn't seen it yet, so we might be safe for a bit. But it looks really cool. The staff there are really behind our show. We had a nice, really long conversation with them about it, and they're very passionate about this show because they want it to be a success so they can keep bringing us back. And I hope it's a success because I really want to come back to this building because it was impressive. And, you know, it fits right into my aesthetics. They have a stage. They have all kinds of stuff. It's going to be good. And then December 30th, we're coming back to Binghamton with Xcite Fight Club with one of the greatest matches ever booked in any kind of entertainment form ever happening on December 30th. Now, while the November 24th card as a whole will be unbelievable, one match is going to encompass the world. And if there was ever a match that will get us viral clips and people going nuts around the world, we're going to put that out on 12/30. But I can't tell you what it is. Not yet. I'm making people wait.
The suspense is just killing me.
Oh, I'm dying.
Well, you should, because it's going to be...
I should die? What the fuck, man? Thought we were having a good interview here.
No. And then we're probably going to have a show, based on what I know, early March. I got to look into find out when the WWE comes to town. They always want to mess up my March show. So I'll have to see about what's going on then. And then mid to late April, we'll be back. And then June 2nd is 90% a go. I'm not going to tell you where, but if you paid any attention to Xcite Wrestling and our dates, you might already know where it's going to be. But, you know, some people don't pay close enough attention. So we'll leave it at that. I don't know. We're already booking our 2018, so I guess we're not quitting anytime soon, I suppose.
All right, so how can people get a hold of you on social media?
They can't.
Well, Xcite Wrestling.
I don't. Part of my loneliness, I suppose, is self-inflicted because I really don't like talking to people. I've talked to you guys for an hour and a half. That's amazing because I usually don't want to talk to anybody for any length of time. And people will message me on Facebook like, "Hey, buddy, how's it going?" And I'm like, I'm not going to talk, and that message will just stay there till the end of time. But. And the ironic thing about life is it makes me mad when pro wrestlers do that to me. I'm reading on a former WWE guy who just left WWE not that long ago to, talk about tease. I email him before this last show and nothing. Don't hear anything back. So I book all of my, next show. And then, I get an email like last week saying, "Hey, buddy, give me your phone number. I'll give you a call. We'll do some business." And then you think he's called me back? Makes me sad. Like, why? Why are you calling me back? We could do some business. So it bothers me when people don't call me back. But if you try to message me, I won't message you back. But if you message Xcite Wrestling on Facebook, I have a few people that, moderate that and will usually message people back if I don't, because they realize I'm not good at it. That's why I have like 4 people doing my Twitter, because, if it was up to me, I don't get it. 160 characters doesn't make any sense to me. I like long diatribes. I don't want to be short and pithy.
140 characters.
42.
I just can't do it. But that?
It's 142 characters, okay.
See, I don't even know that. And I think that's a well-known thing about Twitter, and I don't even know. I get on there and I start typing, and I'm like, why the fuck do I learn? I can't even type what I want to say. I want to talk about Joey Ryan's dong, and I need more than 142 characters.
That seems like a personal problem.
Oh, yeah, no. The Joey Ryan thing is one of my proudest moments in life. It was not the most financially sound move I made, but it turned out, to work out really well for myself.
Nah, that was cool.
So,
this is good.
Twitter's dumb.
I love Twitter, but we're gonna end it there. We're gonna get into the unhinged part. He's got a game that he made for you, so introduce it, Bats.
This will be fun. All right, Mr. Moose. So I don't know if you ever heard this game. It's called Butthurt. It's kind of like Cards Against Humanity. Basically, I'm gonna give you a little quick scenario, and you're going to tell me which Xcite wrestler fits into this scenario. Hopefully, we can put some sand in a few vaginas here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there probably will be. I think there already is some sand and vaginas if they've made it this far through it.
All right,
let's do this game, because I'm intrigued.
All right. First one, we'll just say, who's the most likely to get kicked out of a club?
Simon Queen, definitely. Simon Queen, without a doubt. I'm sure he got kicked out of many a club. They were gentlemen clubs, but not the kind of gentleman clubs that you would think. He's sassy. And when you're sassy, usually you rub guys the wrong way. And trust me, he likes rubbing guys the right way. So, yeah. Probably Simon Queen.
Who's the most likely to get in a fight at a party?
Isn't that the same thing?
Yeah.
All right. So I'll give you a different answer than Simon Quinn.
Good. You're like, let me just ask the same question.
A fight at a party. Brooke Danielle. I don't think she holds her liquor very well. I could see her totally getting drunk, smashed, and just slapping the shit out of somebody. Yeah, definitely.
All right, so I'll put her in with the worst drunk too, because that was going to be the next one.
Speaking of which,
No. It wouldn't be the worst drunk.
We did get one email question. Well, actually, I got a blank email from Lucas Vandermark, but Austin got a hold of him. He wants to know when he's going to get to see some more women in Xcite Wrestling.
It could be as early as December 30th if the WWE guy doesn't come through. Women's wrestling is tough. I love Brooke Danielle. She's wrestled on my shows for years. But, sometimes women wrestlers are tougher to book and meet their demands than guy wrestlers. Not always. Some are really easy to work with. But the thing is, our market, I think, would like women's wrestling. But there is a certain part of our market that is wouldn't give them the kind of respect they deserve. And to go back into our locker room question of, how do you make a happy locker room? The last thing I want is for a couple women wrestlers to come in and have the fans get really drunk and plastered and say really mean things. Now, I know they can handle themselves. So I don't have to feel bad about that. But that's not the kind of atmosphere I want to provide. And sometimes our Legion gets really drunk. So it's tough for me. It's tough because I want to, provide the best canvas for them to, do their thing. And I don't want a few fans ruin that for them. So it's tough for me. I shouldn't need to worry about, but I do. That's something I worry about.
No, it's good that you're worried about it, though. I know, obviously different having women there than men, and then sometimes the fans, especially Binghamton natives, who are a charmed group of individuals.
Binghamton likes to drink.
Yeah, they like to drink. That's one thing they do, and whatever venue brings us in usually loves us because they get a lot of booze.
Yeah.
Booze sales.
That's fun.
The Rumble Ponies told me flat out, they're like, the amount of food and drinks that people drank and ate at our show, our little 3-hour show that we did, was more than most weekday baseball games do. So, our fans can drink a bit.
Well, all right. So there's the segue right there. Who's the worst drunk?
Okay. This one could get me a lot of heat, so I got to tiptoe around this a little bit. So I'll tiptoe around it. The one that can't handle his liquor properly, Axel Lennox, the bruiser. I would say that would be one of our worst drunks. I'm pretty sure. Well, actually, you know who the worst drunk of the bunch is? who can't hold his liquor properly? I'll tell you, me. I can't hold my liquor worth shit. I used to get really sloppy drunk at some 2CW shows. I ruined the main event once. I still feel bad about it. It was at the height of the partying at 2CW. It would get out of hand at times. And there was one show where I didn't have to run sound. I didn't have to do production. I can just go to the Binghamton show, no less, had a driver, and I could just drink. And I knew it was going to be bad when I arrived to the building, and Paul London was there. And as soon as I walked through the door to go to the staircase, the owner of the company is like, "Oh, we're going to the bar." Now this is at 4 p.m, and I'm like, "Ooh, this is gonna be one of those nights." And I proceeded to have a few with the main event of the show. A few people had a few with the main event of the show. And that show will go down as one of the drunkest, insane nights that's ever happened at 2CW. So really, when you think of the worst drunk, it's probably me. I've reformed. I can't drink anyways because my colon explodes and it's just uncontrollable. So I can't drink even anymore if I want to.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Who would be the worst roommate?
Worst roommate would definitely be Rob Cook.
He's our guest.
It'd be so bad. He'd be drinking all the time. He'd leave his shit all around. It'd just be horrible. I mean, it would be great for me, but for most people, they'd just be like, "Jesus Christ, I can't deal with this."
All right, and the last one. Who would be the worst person to set up on a blind date with one of your friends or relatives?
Easy. That would be L.J. Thomas or Green or whatever the fuck his name is half the time. I don't know. He's only got one eye, so if you blindfold him, he's going to be really blind. I mean, Sonny literally got one eye to look out of, and if you're trying to blind the other eye, I mean, he's really fucking blind. That'd be a horrible blind date.
And then he's just going to talk about Northern Tier Wrestling all night.
Oh, what do you want to hear about Northern Tier Wrestling? I got,
No, nothing. We're going to stop that train before it starts rolling.
I even talked to Jeff today, and I said, "Jeff, I think you need to start looking at who actually cares about your product and wants to make it succeed, and who cares about themselves. If they care about themselves, they're going to fail you. They're going to fail you, and it's going to fail your company." Now, me, as much as I pick on Jeff Thomas, in case you don't know, he's one of the owners and wrestlers at NTW. He got into the business at my school. Now, he was trained by other dudes because you don't want me to train him because I couldn't do a headlock or a wrist lock or any of that stuff. But he's one of my guys. He will always be one of my guys. That's the way it works. He's one of my guys. Austin Hope's one of my guys. They were the first class of that school. And over the last 4 or 5 years, I have been very hard on Jeff. Very, very hard on Jeff because I want to see him succeed. I don't want to see him fail. I don't want to see NTW fail. Although the fact that they do certain things just blows my mind, like making T-shirts without the N in Northern. It's things like that blow my mind. But I don't think that's all on Jeff. I think he has some partners that don't pay attention to what they're doing. So I don't want to see him fail. And I think there might be some people that have self-interest in themselves and are going to use him and his company to try to push those self-interests instead of pushing him, his money, and his company. So I would take Northern Tier and do what I always wanted to do with Xcite Wrestling and 2CW. 2CW was a bigger company than mine. They were known far and wide further than I am. But here's a guy who worked at 2CW while running Xcite. You would think it would be a natural fit for us to be a proper feeder system for 2CW. And Josh, to his credit, wouldn't do something like that because he was so protective of his own business. And I get that. I didn't really get it then. I get it now. But he's very protective of his business. So that could have been good for him because dudes that weren't ready for 2CW could have come through me, and I could have got them ready. But then again, Johnny Gargano went through me, so it's not a perfect system. Joe Gacy went through me to there. They didn't need to go through me. It wasn't a good system. But there's no reason why Northern Tier Wrestling couldn't be a place for my students who are a little out of their depth on my shows now because of the amount of talent that we have that could learn there. And some of them are working there, but I can find better ways of taking those guys and giving them the proper opportunities to learn better. And then use that property as a place for guys to go to get more ring time. And then treat it not as a part of Xcite, but as the offshoot of Xcite that we could put on Twitch. Probably not live, but it's something that could get that product out in their area, and they could even come here. But as I told them, because some people want them to all of a sudden start promoting in New York, it costs a lot of money to run shows in New York. A lot of money, especially if you've never had a license and you have to get it. It's a boat ton of money. I don't even think that's the right terminology, a boat ton of money. I don't even know what that is.
Boatload of money.
Boatload of money, there you go. So, I feel like they could be a proper feeder system for Xcite. And that shouldn't be looked at as an insult, because it's not. Anybody that would say their product compares with our product yet is delusional. We've worked very hard to cultivate what we have. I'm not saying it's anything special, but I do think it deserves a certain amount of respect. And someone just running their third show doesn't have that yet. But I'd like to see it become something. And I wouldn't make any money off of that. That wouldn't be anything that I would profit from at all. The only thing it would do is take guys that I know I want on my show and season them up, so I'm not doing it on an Xcite show where all these people across the world are watching it. Just things like that could be done, but there might be people in the way to do it. And he's got to decide if that would be a right fit for him or just let it be what it is right now. I don't know the way it will go. We'll see. But, it's one of those things where I keep telling him I made a lot of mistakes. Still make them. And I can try to help him try to make a few less mistakes than I did, because I've been where he is and I've made it through at great cost financially and mentally to be where we are, as any good promoter does. And I don't even know if I'm good, but guys that stick around and have a real product, they go through a lot of stuff. I don't have the right words. It's almost 12:30 at night.
Trials and tribulations.
Yeah, it takes a lot. And, I don't know. We'll see what he does.
All right, that does it for us here today. John, thank you for joining us here today on the Gimmick Table, and we look forward to everything that is coming out from Xcite Wrestling, both live and on Twitch.
No, guys, thank you for everything, not just what you're doing right now, but the other help that you guys lend to me. I don't even know why you guys do it, but I appreciate it more than you know.
It's fun. It's an experience. Really.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, everybody, thank you for listening. And if you like the show, please subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. You can also check out our website, gimmicktablepod.com. It has all our episodes there as well, along with all of Bats's great and wonderful show covers are going up. They are in the process. The newest episodes already have them. And guys, you can also get all your Gimmick Table gear there through our website. That includes t-shirts and hoodies for both men and women. And you can also join our Patreon for as low as $1 a month. And that'll get you entry into exclusive Patreon contests, as well as exclusive Patreon-only Gimmick Table merchandise for no additional cost. So help us support what we love, as a portion of all these proceeds from our Patreon will go directly to supporting wrestling.
Everyone who signs up gets a t-shirt.
And you can interact with us on social media. We love your feedback. And if you want to get yourself a shout out on the air, it's the best way to do it. You can find us on that Facebook gimmick by going to Gimmick Table Wrestling. Just search that. And we're also on the Twitter gimmick at gimmick_table, or even send us an email at gimmicktablepodcast@gmail.com. And before we head off, we want to give a shout out to all our friends out there. Say thank you to our fellow podcasters there that support us, listen to the show, and provide also content that we enjoy. These shows, they put their hearts into their show. They're very passionate about wrestling. And all in all, they're good people, except for Rob. So check them out. They're Bats tested, Matt approved, 100% guaranteed by the Gimmick Table. So here we go. We got the Wrestling Nerds Alliance. You find them at Twitter at WNA Podcast. Search them on the Facebook gimmick at Wrestling Nerds Alliance. And you can listen to them at iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Podbean.
Can't forget about our buddies Wretched Wrestling. They're on Twitter at Wretched Wrestle, that Facebook gimmick Wretched Wrestling. They do a sweet Periscope. They do a lot of those. But you can also catch them on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, and Podbean.
And we got S Marks the Spot. They can be found on Twitter at S Mark Spot. You can also find them on the Facebook gimmick by searching S Marks the Spot. And they are available to be listened to on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. They do a little bit of periscoping themselves now, and they're on Podbean. And guys, we got our friends, the best name in wrestling podcast besides the Gimmick Table. They are Raw is Poor. And you can simply find them on the Twitter Gimmick or the Facebook Gimmick at Raw is Poor. And you can listen to them on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and Podbean. And Bass, before we go, take us to the land down under.
Oh, good night, mates.
That's not a knife.
I don't know if they're offended by this.
Crikey.
I mean, it's a decent Australian accent.
It's-
We're in the outback, camping out, and watch out for them dingoes.
Dango ate my baby.
But they're the Broadcast podcast, and that's Broadcast with a K.
Because they don't have C's in the Australian alphabet, just so you people
Just
are aware.
oceans.
That's a fact. Fuck you.
And they're on Twitter at the Broadcast with a K, and Facebook, the Broadcast Podcast, and you can check them out on iTunes.
All right, everybody, and that wraps it up for us today here on the Gimmick Table. You survived. Thank you again to Jonny Moose for joining us, giving us a lot of good stories, a lot of laughs, and we will see you next week with a whole new interview. Have a good night, folks.
See ya.